Hi. Woo. Sometimes like if you have ADD or ADHD or you're just a spaz like me and like you've got 20 things going on at the same time. Anyways, hello, welcome to Mystical AF. My name is Keelan Siobhan Clark, soon to be Conan, and I am here today to tell you guys a story. The point of this show. Now, I realize that a lot of you, especially on Facebook, because I have a pretty big following on Facebook, you know me either from growing up or working with me or in a leadership capacity, trainings that I've done, coaching, things like that. And what I was thinking about this earlier, and I was like, I assume that people know who I am, but a lot of times when I'm assuming I know someone, there are tons of layers underneath that sometimes we take for granted or we just don't even realize. So I just want to explain to you guys a little bit why I'm doing this. And if you know me, if I coach you, anyway, I'm going to assume that you guys don't know. You just think I'm this crazy girl who's got this positive outlook on life and crazy hair. And here's the thing is that as a little girl, I always wanted to be a movie star. And I love the camera. I love acting. And as I have developed into my adulthood, I was fortunate to have a great 20-year career in corporate. And there was always this piece of me that wanted a show. And luckily for me, technology has come to a point where I could just have a show, which is awesome. And technology has come to a point where I could spend almost half of my career working from home. And when the time came for me to go out and be an entrepreneur, I already had the skill set and the discipline to be able to make things happen on my own. So I'm really thankful for the time period that I've been born in. And I hope you guys are too, because we're in a very, very interesting time period. And as much as we think that everything's going to hell and, going to hell in a handbasket. Oh my God, I ask old people all the time. I shouldn't call them old. They're wise, very wise vintage people. Has it always been like this? Hey, Susan, so good to see you. And people are like, no, it's kind of messy right now. But that's great because things can get messy and fall apart and break down, and then we can expand into new horizons. So I do this show because, first of all, I love being in front of the camera. I love talking about I was calling you old. I love talking about mysticism. Ever since I was a little girl, I have been able to pick up on energy. I have seen many ghosts in my life, probably more than I even realized. But as I kind of explore soberly, why I was an addict for 20 years, I had a great time partying. Don't get me wrong, but the drinking and the smoking I knew was killing me. It was literally killing me, and really just kind of going back in time and figuring out, well, what was that all about? It's hereditary in some point, but I was definitely numbing out from something. And I think it's because there's a lot of beautiful energy that as a kid, as a 20-year-old kid, and even as a 30-year-old moving to Los Angeles and having all this energy around me, I had no idea how to deal with it. So this show is really an exploration, not only of the mysticism that, if you're watching this, you probably have experienced it in some way. Maybe not know what to name it or what to call it, but just to explore that mysticism. And then the other piece of it is the leadership piece. And that's not only are we exploring it, but how do we handle it? Drinking a bottle of NyQuil before you go to bed every night so Carl the ghost downstairs doesn't bother you when he's like staring at you is not the answer to handle your mysticism. Right? That's a true story. That's what I used to do. Which, upon reflection, I'm like, oh, I probably just should have talked to somebody about that. But we don't know who to talk to, right? Like even today I was getting my eyelashes done. So happy to have my lashes back. The woman who was doing them was talking to me and she was like, I went to an energy healer and I know that sounds crazy. And I was like, F no, that's not crazy. It's amazing. You go to your energy healer and then learn how to freaking energy heal yourself. So Anyways, I went on a tangent, but here's the thing is that we are living in a weird world, and we've created this weird world for ourselves. We are waking up to something really, really beautiful. It's scary. It's it's mystical and mysterious. I don't know what it is. And honestly, I think that part of it is us not to know. We're not supposed to know. We're supposed to be able to kind of ride the wave of curiosity through all this. So here's a little bit about me. If you don't know who I am, my name is Keelan Siobhan Clark. I was born in Vermont in 1980. I'm 41 years old, and I was born out of wedlock, and I have a stepdad, but he's my dad, and I have a bio dad, and I was raised an only child. And when I was 6 years old, I manifested, literally straight up manifested a big brother. How do you manifest a big brother? I just looked at my mom one day. I remember she was a Tupperware lady. We were driving all over Vermont. I think it was really hot out because I think we were in a station wagon, no car seat, seatbelt on, window down. And I'm like huffing about something. And I said, Mom, I wish I had a big brother. And she looked at me with this face and said, Well, you do. And in that moment, I was like, shit, I'm freaking powerful. And it was true. She had had a baby 10 years earlier, gave him up for adoption, and went and found him. And I love my big brother so much. So I was raised an only child. I talk to myself a lot. I'm a little weird. I have a weird name anyways. My mom would pack my lunch in Tupperware, and I've always been creative. Fast forward to when I'm 19, I go to college. I'm not ready for it. I major in partying, and I decide not to continue. And I decided to go into the workforce, which I always had really great connections because I freaking love people. And luckily for me, people love me back. And I had some really great jobs. And I went into the workforce, literally working in corporate. I worked for a TV station. I worked as a pizza delivery girl a little before then. And I worked in New York City for marketing company, which was really great. So I'm telling you this because my story isn't going to be that different from a lot of yours, wherever you are in this path. Working in corporate, I never felt comfortable. I was always like, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm here and I'm kicking ass and it's okay, but it always felt very uncomfortable. Like it didn't, and I'm not saying corporate isn't for people. Like there were the coworkers that I worked with were freaking brilliant. So it was almost imposter syndrome. And just really, really always empowering, awesome. But I always just felt like, I'm not supposed to be here. And I finally figured it out later on towards the end of my corporate career. I'm like, I'm just not in the right room. And there were always these times when I was exploring other ventures. I tried booking my friends' bands in upstate New York. I worked at a coffee shop. Like there was always like these kind of side gigs. I was painting on the side, but always like scared of taking the leap to be an entrepreneur because my parents were right. They're like, what do you do about health insurance? Like how you can pay your bills. And the flip side of all that is I was still living the life of an entrepreneur. I was doing crazy things. I was living a wild child life and taking the risk that an entrepreneur would anyways. So in 2018 is when one of my big awakenings happened. The first one probably happened really when President Trump was elected, and I was like freaking out. I remember sitting outside, drinking a 6-pack of Sierra Nevada, chain smoking, and Darren coming out and giving me the updates. And in that moment, I was like, this is the most punk rock thing that the United States has done probably since the Boston Tea Party. Like, it was shocking if you guys don't remember. It was like, what just happened? And in that moment, I realized I had been complacent. I had nobody to blame but myself. And I'm not saying that Hillary was a great choice either. I didn't feel good anywhere around. But I realized my awakening to that moment was that I am responsible for this moment. Nobody else. I am responsible. And that really put me on a path, like, to liberation. So 2018, I'm finally finishing my degree after 20 years. I go back for creative writing, and I go to Antioch University, which is such I'm so proud of my school. Like, I'm so proud of to be a graduate from there. And I did it online, but I actually flew to Ohio and walked the stage when I graduated. And during this journey, we studied leadership, we studied literature, and I love learning history through literature. And through doing this, I was playing with modeling. I told Darren I was 36 years old. I'm like, I'm gonna go be a model, and he's like, okay, what are you talking about? So I love the camera, and through completing my degree, I had this cosmic download to become the living embodiment of the Statue of Liberty. I freaking love the Statue of Liberty since I was a little girl, since my fairy godmother took me up to her crown and I became her third eye. And I had this download so powerfully that it was like, in order to be her, in order to be this empowering figure in the world, I had to clean up my act. 2 months later, I had retired from smoking a pack a day. I had retired from drinking almost a 12-pack of Sierra Nevada at night. Not good. And then retiring from my corporate career. I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to go do this thing. I didn't know what it was. I kind of knew it was like maybe a show, but I knew I had to be her. And I had to do it fast because I felt it. I felt the push of it. And Darren, my husband-elect, the beautiful man, was like, what are you doing? What's happening? He didn't care about the drinking thing. I was getting pretty mean about the drinking. He was happy about that. But like me quitting my very well-paying corporate career, like everyone was like, don't do that. Don't do it. And I'm a punk rocker. And I'm like, I'm doing it. Because it was something bigger than me that I couldn't see, that I had to trust. And that was faith. So I did it. I did it. And here I am. Now, the last 3 years have been such an interesting journey. And sometimes I forget that I'm Lady Liberty of the 21st century. I'll look you in the eye and tell you that. Like, if you met me in person, I'm like, hey, I'm Lady Liberty of the 21st century. That's fucking crazy. But it's my thing. It's actually on the back of my jacket that my team just gave me. I'm so proud of it. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm so excited. This jacket is awesome. I'm going to post a picture of it. But they even reminded me. I'm like, I forget. And how can I be Lady Liberty? Well, one great way to do that is to have this show and to bring up other thought leaders to have these discussions about mysticism, about awakening, about leadership. How can we do better? Because you know what? We are responsible. You and me are responsible for how the world is right now. That's my belief system. You don't have to agree with it, but that's just my belief system. And when I realized that, things got a lot easier. Things got a lot clearer. I was like, wait a minute. If I'm responsible for President Trump being president and then not being president, then I actually have the power to change what's happening in the world. And not only do I have that power, but there's other people out there have the power too. So my dream is world peace. I've had plenty of people tell me to go F myself. And that's okay. They're like, that's never going to happen. And I'm like, dude, why not? Why not? Miracles happen every day. I believe in aliens. I think it's stupid not to. I believe in rainbow magic. That's why I love rainbows so much. I really believe that we all have rainbows inside of us, the chakras, our auras are rainbows. And there's a huge potential here for us to awaken pieces of ourselves that we have been numbing out, shutting down, pretending don't exist. And my promise to you is to take you on an adventure of exploration, of curiosity. I don't know what's right and wrong. I don't really believe there is a right and wrong. I really don't. So it makes it easier to navigate this when you come from that place of possibility. It doesn't make it perfect. And sometimes it can be hard. But I think, and I don't know, and maybe I'll never know, that when we allow ourselves to get curious, I'm going to talk about curiosity later this week, and we allow ourselves to step into possibility, and listen to each other and allow things that we don't agree with to be heard, I think that there's some real potential there for peace. And if you're wondering, like, well, what should I listen to? Like that triggers the shit out of me, or that's toxic, or blah blah blah. I'm like, here's the thing: is that like as human beings, we have these feelings. We have a rainbow of emotions. We are allowed to have those emotions. We're allowed to feel them. We're just not allowed to have them on other people. And I see a lot of people having them on other people. I actually grew up with parents who had their emotions quite often on myself or them or each other. So there's a beautiful opportunity to not only explore the weird, the mystic, the ooga booga, but there's also all this leadership piece of it, which I think these two things mixed together are really the path to world peace. That's just what I think. So with that said, I freaking love you guys. If anything I'm saying is landing, thank you, Susan, for your notes. Please just drop a note in here and comment. And I'll be back tomorrow, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And with that said, please go to the YouTube channel, which is my name, Keelan Clark, and subscribe. It would be really, really supportive. And share this video with anyone who you think should hear it. So whoever wrote, and I can't see exactly who you are, but Facebook user, you and my offline friend are so freaking similar. Awesome. Let's meet. Let's start creating community and family that we might not agree on everything. I don't agree with anyone on everything, right? But if we can start really having a conversation that is in this sort of vibration, then we're on to something here, and we're actually creating something together, and that's really what we get to do. Okay, I love you guys. You are amazing. See you tomorrow. Bye. Remember, stay curious.